The Grand Conclave Hall of the Galactic Empire stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, its ceiling lost somewhere in the artificial atmosphere above. 10,000 species had gathered to witness humanity's introduction to galactic civilization, and every one of them expected the newcomers to tremble. Desiree Chen stepped through the plasma gates with her hands in her pockets, her regulation diplomatic uniform somehow looking casual despite its formal cut. Behind her, James Rodriguez carried a coffee thermos and was audibly yawning. Supreme Chancellor Vexatheron, a crystalline being whose voice could shatter reinforced steel, rose from his throne. His form pulsed with colors that induced psychological fear in 98% of known species. The gathered delegates fell silent, their various forms of trembling, quivering, or defensive posturing filling the hall with the ambient sound of terror. "Humans of Earth," Vexatheron's voice boomed, each syllable designed to trigger primal fight-or-flight responses. "You stand before the Galactic Empire, unified force of 10,000 worlds, conquerors of the Perseus Arm, breakers of—" "Sorry," James interrupted, taking a sip from his thermos. "Is this going to take long? We've got a 3-hour time difference to account for, and honestly, I'm still jet-lagged. Or would it be space-lagged?" The hall erupted in gasps, chirps, and various expressions of shock that didn't translate well into human perception. Several delegates fainted. One species immediately began broadcasting surrender frequencies. Desiree elbowed James. "Dude, diplomatic protocols." Right. James straightened slightly. "Please continue your chancellorship." Vexatheron's crystalline structure flickered uncertainly. In 3,000 years of galactic conquest, no species had ever interrupted his intimidation speech. You do not fear us?" "Fear you?" Desiree tilted her head. "Why? You haven't done anything yet." "We command the greatest armada in known space," roared General Krath, a 8-meter-tall warrior whose species had evolved from apex predators. His battle cry had historically caused cardiac arrest in unprepared species. "We have plasma weapons that can boil oceans, singularity bombs that collapse stars, biological weapons that—" "Yeah, we've got those too," James said, scrolling through his tablet. "Actually, according to this comparison chart, our antimatter yield is about 15% higher than your standard warheads. Though your singularity compression is pretty elegant, our physicists would love to see the math on that." The general's mandibles went slack. "Wait," Desiree leaned forward, suddenly interested. "You guys can actually stabilize a singularity long enough to weaponize it? We've been trying to crack that for decades. What's your containment method?" We... Krath looked at Vexatheron helplessly. "We do not share military secrets with graviton field matrices," a smaller voice piped up. Ambassador Tillich, a research cast member of the iPhone Collective, couldn't help himself. 12-dimensional folding with quantum-locked barriers. "Oh, that's clever." James was genuinely impressed. "We've been stuck on 9-dimensional models. The math gets impossible after that." "Well, you need to account for subspace bleed-through," Tillich continued, before catching himself. "Wait, I'm not supposed to—" "Silence!" Vexatheron's voice cracked like thunder, shattering 3 ornamental pillars. The humans blinked but otherwise didn't react. "You will show the proper deference. We have conquered galaxies. We have ended civilizations. We are the supreme power of—" "With respect, Chancellor," Desiree said, though her tone suggested the respect was negotiable. "Humans have been ending civilization since we figured out how to sharpen sticks. We've been through 2 world wars, dozens of near-extinction events, and we literally split the atom just to see what would happen. Your intimidation display is impressive, don't get me wrong, but we've been scaring ourselves far more effectively for millennia." "Impossible," hissed Matriarch Zesral of the Serpentine Concordat. "All species cower before galactic might. It is universal law. The strong dominate, the weak submit. This is the way of the cosmos." James laughed, nearly spilling his coffee. "Universal law? Lady, we've got a whole philosophical movement called existentialism that's basically about giving the universe the middle finger. We stared into the void stared back, and we said, so what? Your species must be apex predators," General Krath growled, trying to salvage some understanding. "Nope," Desiree said cheerfully. "Persistence hunters, actually. We're not the strongest or the fastest or the toughest. We just keep going. You know what humans are really good at? Not giving up. And honestly finding things that should terrify us kind of interesting instead. Fascinating even," James added. I mean, look at this place. Amazing architecture. That plasma containment system in the gates? Gorgeous engineering. We've got like 50 questions about your faster-than-light drives alone. Vex Theron's crystalline form was now flickering in what a human might recognize as confusion. You are not afraid. You are not submitting. You are not even impressed. Oh, we're impressed, Desiree assured him. This is amazing. First contact, galactic civilization, all of it. We're just not scared. Should we be? The Chancellor looked around the hall at his 10,000 species, all of whom had been conquered, intimidated, or coerced into the Empire. Every single one of them was now looking at the two humans with something approaching awe. You truly fear nothing? He asked quietly. Well, that's not true, James admitted. We're terrified of plenty of things. Existential dread, climate change, running out of coffee. Heights for some people, Desiree added. Spiders, though, that's pretty irrational given the size difference. Dying alone, being forgotten, letting down the people we care about, James continued. The heat death of the universe is kind of troubling. Oh, and student loans. Those are genuinely terrifying. But not us? Vex Theron asked. Not the Empire? Desiree shrugged. You're just people, right? Powerful people, sure, with cool technology and impressive armies. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to survive and make sense of this weird universe like everyone else. Why would we be afraid of that? The silence in the hall was profound. Finally, Ambassador Tillich spoke up, his voice small. I have studied the human archives they sent ahead. Did you know that their first response to discovering fire, a force that could destroy everything they knew, was to cook food with it? They found the most dangerous predator on their planet and turned it into a pet, added another delegate. They invented nuclear weapons and have somehow not destroyed themselves, murmured a third. They looked at space, infinite, empty, hostile space, and their first thought was, let's go there, whispered someone else. James looked at Desiree. Desiree looked at James. Are we the weird ones? James asked. I think we might be the weird ones, Desiree confirmed. Vex Theron descended from his throne, his intimidating presence melting into something that looked almost like curiosity. Your species is either the bravest or the most foolish we have encountered. Probably both, Desiree admitted. Look, Chancellor, here's the thing. You can try to intimidate us, and honestly, you might even succeed eventually. But we've spent our entire existence on a planet that's been actively trying to kill us. Volcanoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, ice ages, plagues. We've fought each other, survived ourselves, and somehow built societies despite being barely evolved primates with anxiety disorders. An empire of aliens. That's just Tuesday for humanity. So what do you propose? The Chancellor asked. James grinned. How about instead of all this posturing, we grab some food? You guys do eat, right? And you can tell us about these singularity bombs. We'll trade notes on antimatter containment, maybe work on some joint research projects. You wish to collaborate? Vex Theron sounded genuinely confused. Well, yeah, Desiree said. You've got 10,000 species here with 10,000 different perspectives and technologies. We've got our own weird human approach to problems. Seems like we could all learn something. Unless you're too scared to work with us? The crystal being flickered what might have been amusement. For the first time in millennia, the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Empire felt something he'd almost forgotten. Intrigue. Very well, humans. Let us collaborate, but I warn you, this empire has protocols, hierarchies, regulations. Yeah, we've got those too, James said, already walking toward the exit. We're really good at ignoring them when necessary. Come on, I'm buying first round. Do you guys drink, or is that just a human thing? As the two humans strolled out of the Grand Conclave Hall, 10,000 species watched in stunned silence. The Galactic Empire had expected fear, submission, or at least shock. Instead, they got humanity. And somehow, Vex Theron thought as he followed the humans, that was far more terrifying than anything the Empire could have imagined.